Hey everyone, Amar here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the path of the spiritual warrior. I would say this is one half of the journey. This is especially important if you have discovered the truth of who you are and now you want to know how to live that truth. Because it's not enough just to know it. Knowing it enough is not going to lead you all the way, at least from my experience. We need to find a way to live that truth, and that's what I call the path of the warrior. Now, if you follow a lot of traditional spirituality, let's call it non-dual spirituality, teachers like Eckhart Tolle, Muji, Rupert Spira, these guys will talk about how to discover the true self, but they won't really tell you how to live from that place day to day, right? Because you can't always be walking around in this state of oneness unless you become enlightened. And most of us are not there. So we need some type of guidelines. We need some type of order and structure so we know how to live our lives day to day, moment to moment. How do we conduct ourselves from this newfound truth of who we are? Because all your unconscious habits, tendencies, behaviors are not going to go away just because you have had a spiritual awakening, right? Even though you realize you've had mystical experiences, that you are consciousness, that you are awareness, doesn't mean your unconscious habits and tendencies are going to go away, right? Because they are so deeply programmed into you. That needs constant work. And the path of the spiritual warrior is really what we're doing is we're flushing out and reprogramming ourselves so we live from a higher place. Another way I like to look at this is like introducing more religious, you could say religious teachings into our lives. And I'm not a religious person, I'm not trying to push religion onto you, but the way I see religion now is that religion was really teaching people how to live day to day, but it wasn't really, at least not directly, directing people to the true self. You could say like Buddhism potentially was, but for the most part a lot of religious teachings just teach us how to live, but they don't tell us the truth of who we are. Whereas spirituality, on the other hand, will show us the truth of who we are, but then it doesn't really show us how to live the truth, right? So I feel like we almost need to merge the two things together so we get a more complete spirituality or a more complete way of being. So in practicality, what this looks like is for you to identify some of the highest human characteristics, virtues and values that you can begin to live your life by. To give you an analogy or a symbolization of this, imagine if you can, imagine if God was a human being. If God was a human being, what sort of characteristics and values and virtues would God live by? He would probably be honest. He'd have a lot of integrity. He would be compassionate, loving, forgiving, abundant, loyal. He'd live with humility, compassion. There's so many different values we could associate to this image, right? So just do that exercise for yourself. If you saw God in human form, what sort of qualities would God have, right? Then what I'm asking you to do is for you to take on them qualities and to live through these highest levels or these highest characteristics that a human being can live through. Through this way, we are living the truth. As you'll admit, from just hearing about this, it's not an easy way to live. I used to think wrongfully that a spiritual awakening, or when I'm fully healed, like everything will just come to me like some type of instant manifestation. It doesn't quite work like that. You need to just stay on the path, right? The path doesn't end when you awaken. If you set intentions, things will more likely happen for you. But don't have this idea that once you awaken, that's the end and then you can just live freely and do whatever the hell you want. You can't. At least not the path that I'm on. The path that I'm on, I have to live quite strictly almost. Create a lot of order, a lot of discipline, and stay kind of united and strong with these values of living from my highest possible self. Just to give you a personal story on this, where I've lived from a very low level of consciousness. Growing up, I got very much identified with like hip hop culture. Like I think a lot of kids do now as well. And it was because I didn't have a very good role model. So obviously I saw something like hip hop culture, and it creates this illusion of power, right? If you're a bad guy, girls are gonna like you, you're gonna make money, and you're gonna be powerful, right? So we project our own power onto it and think, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to become this like bad guy. And I think the bad guy persona still kind of holds weight and people aspire to that. But let me tell you, if you take that on, that bad guy persona, you're going to struggle and suffer. Your life is not going to go very well. Think about it on a deep subconscious level. If you're a bad person doesn't experience good things, right? They just don't. You might think that they do because you allow the illusion of what you see to fool you, but on a much deeper level, being bad is associated with bad things, is associated to suffering, pain, and struggle. However, if you could begin to align yourself with some of the highest human virtues and values and actually become a good person, which is essentially what I'm talking about, then good things will happen to you. You will be happier. Let me give you some practical examples of what it means to be a good person. It means you don't tell lies, just not even white lies. You don't cheat. You have integrity. You're honest. You don't cut corners. You live as good as life as you can. You become what we would call the impeccable warrior, right? The battle is won every day. Every moment of every day you're battling with your subconscious. Your subconscious, your old self, your old tendencies are always going to tell you to lie or cheat or gossip or talk about someone behind the back or cheat or whatever, right? That's your subconscious mind. You got to stay strong. You got to hold firm and stick to these values, these strong characteristics. Day after day after day, moment after moment after moment, year after year after year. Slowly, that's when you will reprogram all of the old stuff and become who you truly are. Some of you might think, well, if I lie or cheat or even tell a little white lie, nobody really knows about it. And I thought about this. The thing is, you know about it. If you do something and you know deep down that it's not the thing you should be doing, you know that it's wrong, then it hurts you, right? And you are the last person you want to hurt. Every time, and I think back to my own life, all the times I've kind of just took a shortcut when I shouldn't, or told a little lie when I shouldn't. I see how that hurt me, right? It creates guilt in you, right? That's a problem. That's what it does. Even if you think it doesn't and you don't consciously register the guilt, every time you do something that on some level you know you shouldn't be doing, it's making you feel guilty. You create guilt in yourself, that's going to create a lot of pain and suffering. And this is one of the gripes I have with the modern world. Now there's so much temptation everywhere. It's hard to stay on the path. It's hard to stay straight and true. Every time you waver off that path and you fall to your lower self, your lower pleasures, for guys, for example, I'm a guy, obviously things like pornography or masturbation, these type of things, every time you fall to them things, you're going to create unconscious guilt because on some level you know you shouldn't be doing that. You create that unconscious guilt and it's going to create suffering for you, right? It could be anxiety, negative thinking, negative habits, patterns, whatever, right? This is how the world gets us. And the world is all powerful. Just because you're on the spiritual path, it doesn't mean everyone is spiritual. They're not. Because we're in it, it feels like the world is expanding, we're becoming more spiritual. But if you look at things more objectively, you'll see that the world is still quite primitive. We're getting our asses kicked, if I'm honest. Like things like Instagram and social media is constantly luring us in and making us narcissistic, and we're losing touch with these high human virtues and characteristics. And if you really want to live the spiritual life, this is what you're going to have to live by. You're going to have to become an embodiment of God. That's essentially what I'm saying, right? That's going to make you stand out from other people. And don't do it for that reason, because that's a very egotistical goal, but that's what we need, because you will become a beacon for other people. The way you carry yourself, the way that you speak, your energy, your aura, you will inspire and lift others up. But you won't be able to unless you hold yourself in high regard and you start to live, like I said, by some of these powerful virtues and values. what I'm going to do at the end of the video, please stick around right till the end. I'm going to put a list of these virtues and values, right? So read them all. There's so many. But think about the ones that are relevant for you. Think about the ones that you aspire to. For me, integrity and courage are very important. I want to be an individual who has a lot of integrity, right? Honest, trustworthy. You can count on me. I want to be an individual who has a lot of courage, who will do things that maybe other people are not prepared to do because they're scared. And that probably comes from the fact that I've lived with anxiety for most of my life, right? So it's like I flipped it around now that anxiety has created the willingness for me to be courageous, right? So you need to look deep within yourself and see, based upon what you've been through, what values and virtues of the highest order can you live your life by? And you become an embodiment and an expression of divinity in your moment-to-moment experience. When people meet you, they will feel that from you, right? You will inspire others just through your being. So like I said, bringing it back to where I started, it's not enough just to know the truth of who you are. It's not enough just to know you are consciousness. The second part, living life as the spiritual warrior, is to live by the highest human characteristics and virtues and values that you possibly can, day after day. And that's when we become an embodiment of God, right? So that is everything I have to talk about in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, any questions, anything at all to add, hit me up down below. Like I said, stick around till the end of the video because I'm going to put up a list of virtues and values that you can aspire to. But yeah, otherwise, if you did enjoy the video, if you could please go ahead, give it a like, share, subscribe. Really helps me out. Check out my book if you haven't already. I'll put a link down below. But until next time, remember to keep living free and being free. Peace.